We'll work it out. Good evening, everyone. Apologies for that. We had some technical issues with the microphone. We still do at the moment. And welcome to round 10 for the British Grand Prix on LGE YouTube channel for, I said round 10 for Monday's Limitless 1. We're going to try and see if we can get Lewis's audio working. So I do have Lewis F1 from Tuesday racing and Thursday as well. I'm having a problem with getting his mic to be broadcast, so I will introduce you like you are working, because it might do now as I've unmuted myself. Yeah, we'll just see how you're doing this.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm good. Let's hope we can actually hear you. Just bear me a second.
Okay.
We're all good. We're working.
Whee!
It's working. There we go. Really sorry, gents.
Fantastic.
Ladies and gents. Yeah, fantastic. So, just a little rundown again. Some more games is, as I did do it before, but I didn't realise my mic wasn't really working. That's the first big mistake of the season so far. Just before the mid-season break. Yeah, there will be a mid-season break next week, so no racing on the channel next weekend. But yeah, more games is the new driver in Monday in the AlphaTauri, as you can see on board. Now, I had 3 drivers out in the kerfuffle, Lewis, of the microphone issue. Obviously, Lucas has a quali ban. I did say that before, but no one could hear me. Lucas has a quali ban, did an outlap in lap just to make sure his setup was on for the 5-lap sprint race. Of course, we'll have the 50% Grand Prix in just after the 5-lap race. We'll have the 5-lap race in just over 5 minutes time. Just on board with Neuro at the moment. Is coming down to the final sequence of corners, which is club, of course, now onto the Hamilton straight, start finish straight, and is going to set a new lap as he invalidated that lap towards the end. Time's looking pretty close. It is a little bit spread out though, which I'm surprised about. We have been confirmed now it is raining in the sprint.
That would make sense. Lots of soft runners.
Oh, now. You see King David dive into the pits. And I think Callie might be on a lap. The AlphaTauri, car number 88. So, Lewis, personal opinion, what do you think of Silverstone? Do you like it? I feel like it's a bit of a Marmite track for people. You either love it or they hate it.
Silverstone's one of the tracks that I absolutely love. I won't lie. It's very flowy. You can get caught out quite easily with Maggots and Beckett's, of course. You get out of shape there, you are going to lose a lot of time. But there's also a lot of time that can be made up. So, yeah, that will be a big factor to why it's such a Marmite track. But yeah, personally, I love it. And getting to race there last Thursday was very enjoyable.
Wasn't so much for me. I'm having a bit of a real stinker in Thursday at the moment. I'm on a real bad. And that's the problem with Thursday. With 12 races, you can't have a stinker, really. It's one of those, if you want to try to be fighting towards the top, then getting duff races is really not the answer. A lot of drivers in the pits now, pretty much everyone apart from Neuro, who just set a lap. But apart from Amiaguna, which I'm sure he will, no one, everyone's in the 126s or the 127s at the moment.
Impressive stuff. We've got the top 5 all under the 127 mark. Quick laps, good quality.
Yes, I think we'll see some more times up there as well. I'm sure Tate Pasta will get himself up there as well. I'm sure Big Rear will do a better lap. Vedran as well, maybe Darth Vader, King David as well. So I reckon they'll all get under the 127 mark by the end of qualifying. I'm a bit shocked about Trunders and Apex Finney though being out. It's not one of those tracks where it's quite easy to actually crash completely out. here. It is high speed, but there is a huge amount of runoff everywhere.
Exactly. Cops is an area which can be very dangerous if you're pushing it for grip.
Or if you're a
I've
Red
gone
Bull.
there more times than I can count. Exactly.
It didn't go the way I wanted last season, so all I got is digs. That's all I got. So we're seeing Ariagunas coming down the hangar straight towards Stowe to start his final lap. He may be able to do another one with the time remaining, but don't think that will be the case. So yeah, now all I can see is outlaps. It is outlaps galore, apart from Tay Pasta in the Williams, who's on a lap. Looking at the 2021 Williams now, does not look good compared
No,
to the...
I've been talking to one of my mates about this quite a lot, and he says every time he looks at it, he pictures it just being a multiplayer car from the game, because it's very, very, very boring.
I got a controversial one. I'd say that about the McLaren this season, to be honest.
Okay.
I like it and I don't like it. There's the Williams. It gives the other Williams, Kem, gave Tay Pasta a bit of a nice tow there down the hangar straight as he comes into Stowe to finish his final lap, unless he chooses to go for a second hot lap. I suppose you can do that because the tyre wear situation doesn't matter a jot, as it's going to be a wet start. So he goes up to 7th, almost into the 126s.
Only 2 tenths ahead of King David as well. Sorry, not 2 tenths, 200s. 200ths.
Yeah, to go back, McLaren, I like it and I don't like it. There's certain angles that I like it at, and there's certain angles I don't.
I'm exactly the same with the McLaren. It's
that black strip.
To it.
Yeah, I think it made it worse. I'm not sure if they made it worse or better. As Tay Pasta now returns the favour to his Canadian teammate of Kem Jazz, as he makes his way right-handed around the field and through the slight kink of Woodcut. And now into Copse. Sounds like he was pretty flat through there.
Sounded like it to me. It's brave.
We'll see him now fly through Maggots and Beckett's, and then Chapel at the end. Everyone forgets about Chapel as we come down to Stowe, as Cali Rob takes provisional pole with a 126.309. But we have got drivers going faster at the moment, Stenos being one of them. Sorry, Lewis.
I was just going to say that's a very quick lap. He's gone 2 tenths faster than the previous pole sitter.
Kem goes
Veloce.
12th fastest with a 127.3. Veloce was on a good lap, as well as Stenos just crosses the line, goes second with a 126.4, bridges the gap. Crossfires is on the 126.5, so he isn't going to improve, and Veloce is into the pits. Big Weir is not going to set a better lap. Anthony moves himself up to 6th place. How many more drivers have we got to set that? More games. The debutant goes 8th fastest with a 127 dead. Any other drivers coming through? Darth Vader is into the pits, and
Slow one.
He's also into the pits. Just for any drivers who and people watching just for interest, at the end of this, before we do the standings, just quickly, a rule change has now been applied. I'm sure Lewis. Actually, Lewis, let's see how many people know. Lewis, do you know what the new rule change is?
We have the new pit entry rule change.
Well done.
I know this because I had to ask a few questions about it myself.
Ah.
But essentially, you can't be crossing over the two. Once the white line to the pit entry turns into 2, you can't cross it any longer. That's the short story there.
It basically is. So basically, we might maybe make some comment at this in this race. It's not very likely to happen. It's somewhere like Silverstone. I mean, you'd really have to cut over the grass to make it really obvious. But yeah, okay. Just quickly before the standings, because it will come up, and it has. We'll do it in a minute. Actually, we'll talk about it in a minute between the break. So Cali Rob, the reserve, once again takes pole position. Unfortunately, I haven't taken the stats for pole position. I might go back in the break and find out who's got what pole position. But yeah, anyway, with a 126.3 and close behind is our championship leader at the moment of Stinos. In third is Velocio, fourth is Crossfire Strikes, fifth is Vedran, sixth is Anthony, seventh is Big Weir, More Games is in eighth, ninth is Darth Vader, Tay Pasta is 10th, King David is the first man on the fresh tyres, but they'll all be on fresh tyres actually, due to it being a wet race. Azure F Wings, Amir Guna, Chemjazz, Neuro, and Lucas, Neuro runs out the grid, Lucas A Germany, Apex Finley, and Trunders all did not qualify in the end, only Lucas having a qualifying ban. Luckily for him, he hasn't actually had to start from the back actually, so that's worked out quite well for himself. And of course, he's got the opportunity to move back up again in the sprint. So yes, wet session for the sprint. So quickly, yeah, do you agree with the new rule, Lewis, or not on a personal?
I think I do, because I've almost been caught out a couple of times by it from a car swerving in. I've almost been taken out a couple of times, so personally, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it has been, and just so anyone knows, we won't talk about it. We'll talk about it after the sprint, because there is no formation lap. I sometimes forget that. We are just about to get right into this wet sprint qualifying for the British Grand Prix, and we're away with Cali Rob looking like getting a bit of a treacherous start. They all are, but Veloce has moved himself up into second as they go through turn one. He's side by side with Stinos. There's Alpha Tauri off in the background. Stinos looks like he might go round the outside of the McLaren, but isn't able to hold it for very long. He dives now down the inside, loses positions. The championship leader is now off onto the grass round turn four of the loop and has lost a huge amount of positions, and now has caught out another driver there. I wasn't sure who that was. It might have been Darth Vader.
Vader, yes.
As he's alongside Big Weir into Brooklands, and he potentially might lose out on more positions here. It looks like he's getting a little bit desperate there. We're trying to get some overtakes done as Chemjazz now goes up the inside of Stinos, but Stinos gets better traction out of Luffield. That has been a very chaotic first lap for the first half of the first lap for the championship leader, Lewis.
Yeah, it's been a fairly spin free. This first lap, I was expecting a little bit more chaos, if I'm honest, because it's got a bit slippery when the rain starts coming down. So I've been impressed with the car control so far.
And More Games has moved himself up to fourth. He's the biggest gainer on lap one in the sprint, moved from 8th to 4th and close behind Vedran in 3rd place. But apart from a slight gap between More Games and Vedran, which was expected as he moved up 4 places, as Crossfires gets himself a 2-second time penalty in 1 lap. That's really not going to be good for the Dutchman.
With the rain, that could come into play near the end as well, because it's going to be harder to build that gap up to Anthony behind him.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it may only be 2 seconds, but you've only got 5 laps, well, less than that now, to make any gains. Lucas A Germany looks like he's had an off at turn 3, I think, as we get on to the loop. Darth Vader, is just overtaken the Haas driver of Lucas A Germany. Neuro is at the back at the moment. And the other ones is Tay Pasta and King David have also moved up 3 places each. Apex Fenley's moved himself up into 13th. Got Chemjazz not too far ahead of him. It's looking pretty uneventful at the moment, Lewis, but I feel like the last maybe 2 laps it's going to get a little bit more dicey.
We've got Amaguna getting quite close to Stinos coming up to the hangar straight here.
Yeah, well, Stinos has certainly been the biggest loser in this sprint so far, with Darth Vader, the man just behind him for the amount of places he's lost as well, with 7 to his name, 8 to Stinos, with Cali Rob taking the fastest lap there with a 1:35.864. Not going to matter though, no points in the sprint. As more games, he's looking like he's getting quite close to the back of Vedran now. So
just coming up to the Wellington straight there, so there's potential for an overtake, although he has dropped 2/10 or so.
Yeah, and of course, no DRS in wet conditions. It's too dangerous to have that rear wing open up as Chemjaz loses the place to Apex Finley, moves himself up into 12th, and not too far behind. Big Weir now actually is there's a nice gaggle of cars here at Luffield, and that is between Amir Guna, Big Weir and Stinos, as Amir Guna really felt the effect of the dirty air there on the exit of Luffield as they power down towards Cops now. But everyone not seeming to make any overtakes. It is certainly a lot harder to get overtakes done in the wet. Yeah, I really have to say actually, Lewis, that DRS in the game is a real big aid actually. You do see it in the wet conditions. There's not too much slipstream effect
exactly
in the 2021
and
game.
Of course, that's something that hopefully won't be as big an issue this year with Formula 1. The new regulations, of course.
As you see, Amir Guna now going for a sneaky little lunge down the inside. Through the Vale and now through Club and gets ahead of Big Weir, moves himself up into 10th place. Of course, the top 6 get points in the sprint here, and the top driver, Cali Rob at the moment, if he does gain pole position at the end, but he has got Veloce closing down on him, he will get 10 points for finishing the race first, the sprint race, and gaining that pole position. As Chemjaz has been spun at Aintree there, just onto the Wellington straight, gets himself onto a bit of tarmac again, back onto the circuit, and now he's down in last place. And that is the beauty and the ugly of the sprint races, Lewis. It can all go well for you, or it can all go horribly wrong.
It can. We've seen both sides of it. We've got Apex Finley up there, 6 places. And you've got Darth Vader losing 6 places, so it can go either way.
As we've got Stinos, I think this will be a redemption overtake here for Stinos, trying to gain back some places. No, just not close enough. I think we're going to have a very lively last lap, Lewis.
It would look like there could be some lunges going on.
Saying that, Crossfire Strikes has just clipped the rear of the debutant, and more games there. Not too harsh a contact with the new boys, please. And as you see, Crossfires now negotiate turn 2 into turn 3 of Village. And through the loop and onto Aintree and down the Wellington straight for the final time in this sprint race. And Crossfires has lost the back end through Aintree and lost all the ground that he had made up there. So more games might be safe for his 4th place, his 2nd row on the grid. And 6/10 that separate the top 2 now, Lewis. Just don't think he's close enough though.
Last minute lunge possibly into Vale maybe.
As we're watching in the background, Stinos is now only 1/10 behind King David, so there's for sure to be an overtake for Stinos if it all goes his way through Maggots and Beckett's, which we're down onto the Hangar Straight for the 5th and final time. It doesn't look like Veloce is going to be able to challenge Cali Rob, but it looks like there might be some potential battles behind. Apex has been let through by Big Weir there. That was good of his teammate as we come through Stowe for the final time in the sprint. And we see Cali Rob cross the line, take the fastest lap on the last lap, takes pole position. Veloce lines up on the front row with him. Vedran is in 3rd, starting 4th for more games for the British Grand Prix. That's a good qualifying for the debutant, and we'll go for the rest of the order at the end of this last lap for some of these drivers. Darth Vader was very close behind the Shore F Wings there, and Kemjaz comes home in 18th and last. A bit uneventful.
Big changes.
Big changes, but quite uneventful.
In terms of contact, yeah. There was some good racing out there. But yeah, big changes in terms of the grid, starting grid for the 50% race.
So, just watching the podium there, technically there shouldn't be a podium, so we'll skip through that. As Cali Rob does take the pole, I did say that before, I was actually getting it all wrong, takes the pole for the Grand Prix, and of course everyone is going to be on fresh tyres for the Grand Prix. Of course, the beauty of the sprint, another beauty of it, with Veloce joining him on the front row. Vedran is in third place. More Games moved himself up to fourth. Crossfire Strikes is in fifth. Tay Pasta is sixth. He started the sprint in 10th. King David is seventh, started in 11th. Anthony is in 8th. Stinos was in 9th, started second on the grid, so not a good sprint for him. Ami Aguna rounds out the top 10. Apex Finley was 11th. 12th is Big Weir. 13th was Trunders. He had a good sprint as well. Azure F Wings was 14th. 15th was Darth Vader. Lucas A. Germany actually stayed in the same position as he was. Neuro is 17th, and Kemjaz was the unluckiest of the lot and starting 18th and last. So, guys, we'll see you in another stream in a few moments' time. It will be called the British Grand Prix. We've got to wait for the grid to be set to get back underway again, so we'll be back in just a few moments' time.